Hello everyone, today I would like to report on my Puyo playing AI. I've made it design some chains for us. Now this is not a difficult problem for humans. If you can play a single Puyo at a time, you can design a long chain. But it's nice that an artificial intelligence can do that too. So let's see, a chain. Here it actually found a full 19 chain right at the start. So you can see that every link that falls into place takes exactly 4 Puyos, which is the minimum, and they all click into pieces and end up in an all clear. And 19 is actually the most you can do because there's only two places left and you cannot fit 4 Puyos into 2 places. Let's see another one. Well, there we go. Now it only found that 16 chain. It accidentally started building it towards the top, and then you couldn't continue it in any way. And as you can see, it uses some iterations to find these things. We can find out 12 chains in one iteration. Or we can say that please keep looking until you find a chain of certain length. Let's find, let's say, an 18 chain. There we go. It took 28 iterations to find this 18 chain. And it pops off quite nicely. Now, as I said, it's not very difficult to design these. It's very difficult to design these in the way that the AI is doing them. I can't really follow them until they start popping, so that's interesting. Let's see if it can find a 19 chain again. Now it's taking its time. Now it took 233 iterations to find it. And one thing to note here is that it doesn't care if it's actually playable to chain. This chain starts here from the greens, and they're actually in the middle of everything, so you couldn't place a Puyo there in a real game to start this. There's of course ways to force that the first hit is possible to hit, but that makes the search a bit longer, so I didn't do it here. It has 2 ways it can make the chain. One is to extend it from the front, from the trigger if you will. And we can see taking its sweet time to find a 19 chain like that. Now it takes 422 using only a single method to find the chain. Another method to extend the chain is to extend it from the behind, so you create a tail for it. Now this is going to take a while. It's pretty interesting, so let's see. Now it's trying to drop Puyos from the top until everything clears in a 19 chain. Let's wait a minute. So I'm going to go through this kind of front extension and tail extension next. There's also a third way, which is just to do a whole big crapshoot of Puyos and hope that they end up in a chain. It's really inefficient, but it produces the most stable chains, or most balanced. There's no bias. Like here there is of course a bias. Every chain hit happens at the bottom, so what it did here is not a general way of building any kind of chain. But yeah, that's a tail. If you want to practice your tail, look at these kind of chains. It might take you a while to actually build one, so it took 37,000 and more iterations for the bot to do it. Alright, so let's look at the extension thingies. The first thing you can do is just shotgun some Puyos in there and see what comes out. And here we have a jumble of Puyos and it falls into place. One thing to note is that the so-called trigger is always tetromino. And again, here it's unplayable because it's covered in all kinds of puyos. Well, I guess you could drop the 3 and 0 here, and that would work, so that's fine. Alright, let's look at the tailing first, because it's easier to understand. Tailing is that you just drop 4 puyos in some configuration and hope that they chain, which they here do. The AI is capable of always finding a tail that works. And when it doesn't, it just gives us a nice animation. So those are the 2 ways to extend a chain, or make a chain. Just shoot one out there, or put stuff on top of it and hope that everything sticks. Let's see extensions. So here we have a simple tetromino, and we extend it by cramming a tetromino under it. So you saw the original tetromino was these ones lying on the bottom, and now it's crammed this eyepiece here. And if we play it, then we see that the original tetromino is recovered after the first hit. Let's try that again. Now it managed to find this L piece. Let's do it one more. Now it found this piece to cram between the one before, and it also raised the old stuff. So this is a bit difficult way of building chains if you think about it during playing. You cannot cram these kind of tetrominos on the bottom of your design and just hope things work, because you cannot move puyos once they're here. So that's why it also known a fixed chain extension, where it only is allowed to manipulate these this trigger marked here as a red 0. So here it found this T tetromino to cram right there under the ones, and everything else stood in place. Let's do that again. Alright, so now it found the eyepiece that cannot be extended like that. Whatever you cram here, it's going to raise the number ones, which we treat as fixed here. So this is the end of the line for extensions. But we can still use tails. Let's drop some tails. Oh well, there was only one, or one that the AI found. So those are some ways to extend your chains and create these kinds of nice random dynamic designs. And then I want to show you chains of some order. Let's do that. So here we've done what I did previously, that it only moves the previous puyos for each hit. So we can see that the 0 only moved the 1s, the 1s only moved the 2s, the 2s only moved the 3s. So everything always clicks into place, and these are easy to design even during play. And here we see the color conflicts as a table. So we see that 0 and 1 cannot be the same color for this to work, obviously. And so is for the 1 and 2 and so on, because they're always touching. But here we have an interesting conflict. 0 and 2 cannot be the same. Well, they're touching in the initial configuration, so that's quite natural. So are like 0 and B, let's see, 4 and B. Well, they are actually not touching. What is it for? No, it's 3. Yeah, they're touching in the initial configuration. But actually this triangle wouldn't pop. It would only pop once the 2s release the 3s. So that's like a non-obvious color conflict that it found. Then we can also put some extra pieces on top here and see what kind of color conflicts they would inflict. This would help in realizing this chain during playing, because you cannot always get exactly the pieces you want. You have to use these kind of extra pieces. So we see the same configuration as above, below, but then there are some extra color conflicts. Like for example, this one extra piece here cannot be the same color as, is it 3? Yeah. What? No, this is actual chain. Oh well, anyway, it's hard to read the chart, so it's a bit too big. But anyway, let's see how that animates. All right. Let's do that whole chain with like no restrictions. Now we can see that it came up with this kind of chain where again the trigger is quite well buried here, but also I mean everything is dropping all the time, so it's really confusing, and the color conflicts are all over the place. And of course we have some more conflicts going on, and this one takes 5 different colors to realize, which is still possible, but in like some easier modes, actually this chain is impossible to make. Let's see how it goes. You can see lots of things happening, everything just falling and being quite chaotic, but it's not a problem for an AI. It just sees if it works, and if it works, then it does it. All right. Let's try seeing. So when I say that it only raises the previous trigger, I call it order 1, and when it's allowed to raise the trigger and the one color next to it, I call it order 2. And I can also force it to make a chain like that. Takes a while. Actually 12 is too much for it. Let's do an 8. Even that is quite hard to find. And there we go. So here every hit drops exactly 2 extra colors. So the 0 drops 1 and 2. Once the 2 hits, it drops 3 and 4. Once the 3 hits, it drops 4 and 5, and so on. So let's see how that goes. So these are something you could use in a real game, these kind of patterns, if you think 2 steps ahead. So learning something like this could be useful. It's possible to build, and it might confuse your opponent, which is always useful. Let's see if it can find an order 3 chain. Now this starts to become really troublesome to build. You would have to think this is a trigger and then find like all these kind of different colors to make it work. So this is already impractical in real games, and the color conflicts are all over the place. So it's not very useful. But it would really confuse your opponent if you use this kind of chains that drop a lot of material on top of them. Of course, tailing is an easier way to do that. Okay, I think that is all for today. Next time I'm going to talk about the progress in actual gameplay. But these are nice templates. I might be able to use them in real gameplay. It's not trivial, so I don't know about that, but we'll see. Wish me luck, and see you next time.